yeah, it's just going to be all about Stephen.
We hardly hired anyone from the outside. It was always about, okay, who's your next leader? For me, this has been, yes, a massive learning curve, but also it's been extremely fulfilling, enriching, and satisfying. Yet I'm not kind of getting ahead of myself because there's a lot to learn from me. And I remember with my feet up, my boss walking in and saying, well, you don't have to work. I said, you saw my numbers. What else do you want me to do? Balancing, I'm shit at it.
Hi guys, today I'm joined with a lovely friend, Steve Khanna. Or should I say Stephen Khanna? Because after I always say Steve, but I know it's Stephen. And today's just part of the same interview series that we've sort of started doing on the various different channels. And we are joined by Stephen, who is by far one of the best SEO sales guys and has had a surprising turn of events and is going into various other different industries. So yeah, it's just going to be all about Stephen, and I don't know, take it away, Steve. Give us a little bit of an introduction, who you are, what you do, and how you got started.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, lovely to be here, mate. Yeah, let's just stick to Steve. That's what everyone calls me. I mean, they do call me a lot of other names within the SEO industry, but probably not best to say it out loud to your audience. Let's just kind of keep that between few drinks in some conferences. But no, mate, honored to be here. Thanks for the invite. For people who don't know me, my journey within the SEO, or rather digital marketing space, is still very, very early. I've only been in for like 2.5 years. Yet sales comes naturally to me. Hence, I've done that for over 20 years, whether that was running sales and bigger targets in Michelin star restaurants back in the UK, looking after budgets upwards of £60 million, managing teams upwards of 60 people. That was front of house, wine sommeliers, kitchens, and all of that, to then casual dining, to, last 2.5 years working for White Press as head of English markets, and, had decent amount of success. But I think my biggest gain has been me tapping and then being accepted into the top tiers, the echelons of the SEO world, like yourselves, like the Dooleys, the Matt Singers, the Charles.
I was going to say, when do you get into that? I'm still yet to get there.
No, mate, for me, this has been, yes, a massive learning curve, but also it's been extremely fulfilling, enriching, and satisfying. Yet I'm not kind of getting ahead of myself because there's a lot to learn for me.
So what would you say were like the biggest challenges you've faced, especially in the early stages when you were making that transition from, obviously, head of house, within the restaurant industry and things, to like transitioning into like a completely different context, right? Like almost from a manual labor job to like full on digital type thing, isn't it?
Correct.
So what was your biggest challenges there? And what did you do to try and overcome?
Mate, product knowledge, to be honest, because for any successful salesperson, your product knowledge needs to be absolutely spot on, because all your strategies for outreach, appointment setting, closing the deals, clearing bottlenecks, that is all based on product knowledge. It's exactly like me trying to sell, I don't know, a lobster bisque, but I'm giving out an explanation how a salmon is cooked. It's not going to run. So the first couple of months was trying to understand, what the fuck is SEO? Because I never knew what is SEO. It kind of came across as black magic. But then what's the value of a link? What is a backlink? What is do follow, no follow? So literally it was baptism with fire, because I was giving the market 8 days into my training at White Press. They're like, all the best, mate. These are your targets, which are there to be seen. I'm not going to kind of name those numbers here. And while your education's going on, yeah, let's just smash it. So I also got lucky along the way, to be honest. A lot of salespeople or entrepreneurs, you need a lot of luck along the way. But I think you make your own luck if you're brave enough to be open about your deficits and your shortcomings, and not scared to ask questions, no matter who you're asking to. Your learning curve is a lot more quicker. And that was it. But I remember sitting in the first management meeting in Cyprus, and I said to Tom, my boss, I said, Tom, in 3 months' time, you'll either have a lot of feedback or you'll have a lot of revenue. Because for me, the only way to bloody know if I could make the backlink world work in the English markets was simply, you know,
Give it a
give it a
go.
go, pick up the phone, call millions of people, and then get some feedback, pivot along the way, see which strategy works, and then try and scale it up. So
So then, with that in mind, you see, you said pick up the phone, call people. I know, obviously, we know each other very well on WhatsApp, and you're always sending bloody voice messages that I don't send anywhere near. You and Dooley, I don't know which one's worse. Anyway, so when you're picking up the phone, obviously a lot of the time is this cold calling. So you've maybe found someone on LinkedIn or something like that, and you're just literally picking up the phone, giving them a call, and introducing who you are. Or you literally kind of mapping out a bunch of like target websites that you want to try and get the SEO of, and then calling them up, trying to get hold of marketing managers or something. Or
yeah, yeah,
what's the strategy there?
yeah. I'm not one of those typical corporate organizations which throw a list in front of people and said, there you go, mate, your KPI is 80 calls to make, but no one
Mm,
talks about the end game. So for
mm,
me, it was doing a balancing act between quality and quantity. So up until this date, or the new job when I transition into, will be quite simple. I'll qualify my leads through either Sales Navigator or Apollo, and then after I've shortlisted the potential leads list, I'm literally going to stalk them for the next 24 hours, trying to understand who they are, what makes them tick, which is looking at their website, looking at their Facebook, looking at their Twitter handle, and try and come up with a likable angle, but being honest about it
mm.
as well, right? Whether they're into cricket, brilliant, I'm a cricket fan, whether it's tennis,
Yeah.
whatever. But with the mindset that when I'm calling, I'm not trying to sell. I'm introducing with the idea that they're going to spare 15 to 20 minutes of their time to jump on a discovery call with me and then take the next step. And I think a lot of salespeople kind of make that mistake, or entrepreneurs have that
Mm.
belief that one cold call could probably get you the sale. Might be
Yeah.
possible for another product or service, but surely not in our market, in our industry,
Yeah.
considering we were fucking doing links. So you need lots of trust to be built, 6 to 7 touch points, and technically anything between 2 to 2.5 weeks before someone gets interested. So the cold calling was with the idea that if I manage to speak to the decision maker, fantastic. But I knew most of the time I'm going to run into a gatekeeper, and
Yeah.
gatekeepers are tuned to not. Uh,
To say
yeah,
no. They say no.
and they would not give you the email address. They would
Yeah.
simply go info at yada yada yada. So there were times, mate, where towards the end of the calls, I was in a nice way bribing gatekeepers with bottles of Pinot Grigio in order
Right.
to, somehow, well, not that saying I'll give you a bottle of wine if you transfer me. It's like when they've been nice enough, I say, listen, this has been fantastic. You've been an absolute legend. Next time, if I come over to the office, I'll be more than happy to bring you a case of Pinot Grigio. Not the same as bribing. I know I use the word, but and the idea is quite simple, Carl. You know it when it comes to the SEO space.
Mm.
For 99.9% of the population on God's green earth, SEO is black magic. So
Yeah.
standard answers generally, no matter what case study you show, people usually say it depends because we don't know what
Hmm.
the fuck Google's going to do tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So there's already a level of mistrust there where ROI could be zero or probably a bit better compared to paid ads. So
I think sometimes as well, obviously, there's a level of, there's multiple ways of doing SEO, right? Like if you speak to me, I'll probably be doing it completely different to the likes of, say, Kyle Roof or, Robert Mitchell. Like we're all SEOs and arguably pretty successful. However, there's loads of ways of doing it.
correct. So which method is the trusted one? So
Yeah.
it all then comes down to, okay, does the bloke trying to sell me anything? Do they understand my pain points? Do they
Mm.
understand the business? But most importantly, would I get along with this person? because it's normal that there'll be conflicting opinions when it comes to quality of backlinks or just technical SEO or a standard approach. So once you've got the liking bit out of the way and you're on, equilibrium, whether it's gin and tonics, whether it's whatever, and you can have a good laugh about it, then I think the job becomes a lot easier. And
A little bit
yeah,
easier.
and I did, as I said to you and Dooley millions of times, that for me, probably I carried over 60% of my sales tactics and approach from my restaurant days here, and tried and
Yeah.
tested. And then, yet, of course, I've pivoted along the way that, deeper understanding of how backlinks or SEO works. That's work in progress, but just make sure the education never stops. And, network and gain a lot from, rubbing shoulders with people like yourselves in order to get that extra edge. Because for me, the competition is not tech SEOs. My competition simply was other link builders out there. And if I know their standard and what Kyle Roof says, in order to run away from the
Be the
wild, exactly,
be the bear. Yeah,
correct,
yeah, yeah.
correct. And that's exactly what I was trying to do.
No, that's awesome. That's a good strategy. So, would you say there's been any significant failures that you can remember? And then what did you take from that as obviously feedback and then move forward?
Yeah. Can't name the person's name here, can't take his name here, but I was probably overeager. And this was right after Chiang Mai.
Right.
Life has a strange way of slapping you down if you get too arrogant, too cocky. And that's exactly what I was when I was chasing this gentleman to do quite a large deal. And I think I came
Okay.
across a bit of a prick and a dick, to be honest, when I read the message which I sent him on Facebook, because he was just staggering things. And yes, it was delayed. Yes, he didn't probably keep a couple of things which he promised. And I did some fucking Loom videos and all of that in order to get the education out there. But once I take the emotion out of the way, I was like, you know what? Nah, I shouldn't have done that. And then literally, I understood, I apologized, I walked away, but I knew there's still a way of salvaging it. So a couple of months ago, I dropped him a message again saying, listen, I know I screwed it up, hands up, definitely to be blamed, but you can't beat away from the fact that the offer I was giving you was pretty much the best in the market. Now, if you don't want to work with me, but you want to work with White Press, I'm happy to, put another account manager in
Introduce
front.
you to someone
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
For me, my ego and my self pride will never stand in my way. And actually, I think that's one of my superpowers. I actually don't have an
Yeah.
ego or a big thing that, oh, I'm one of these great sales guys and all. Because to be honest, I'm a typical Virgo. I'm a perfectionist. I practically think I'm an idiot. And what I've done by now is just hopefully, with a bit of scale, but I've also got lucky a lot of times, and a lot of people
Yeah.
say, Steve, you shouldn't be saying that because you've obviously done displayed what you've achieved. But I think if you've got that mentality that you're humble about your success, but
It keeps you humble.
correct, that's
Yeah.
very important. It keeps your eyes and ears open. It keeps you on the ball. It
Yeah.
makes you be with the trend. And that's only possible if you're still speaking to clients every day, still doing the outreach, still closing, discovering, doing the discovery calls. Yeah, you might delegate and pivot a little bit and start having more account managers in order to look after those smaller clients. But the essence of not losing touch with your clients, which is the heartbeat of your business, I'll never do that. No matter how old I get, I'll never stop talking to my clients.
I guess with that in mind as well, that also keeps you ahead of like industry changes, keeping the business innovative, anything new that maybe the customer's asking for that you may not or may do, but he's just not aware. You can see about implementing or finding someone who does that well and then introducing type thing. And you almost become like, in fact, yes, you're an account manager from a link building perspective, but you're also just almost just a friend. So actually, I know a guy who does this really well. I'll introduce you.
That's it.
And almost you become like quite an important contact in this person's life, as opposed to just, I just buy links off Stephen.
There we go. There you go. And that's what's happened the last few months. Personally, I've not really done any active cold calling because leads have just come in. People know
Yeah.
people, and every time someone talks about links and all of that, they say, okay, go speak to Steve, works for WordPress, he'll sort you out. And you hit the nail on the head when you said getting being in tune with industry trends, like my conversations with you and James when you guys came over to Robert's
Yeah.
conference. Hence, I got very interested with power posts, and of course
Yeah.
we've done some business together already because I was intrigued, like, oh, brilliant! This seems to be a fantastic USP. No one else really does it out there. Let me just try and fucking understand it, pitch it to certain clients, and let's see what they say. And we've done certain business. So that's a classic example of not getting too ahead of yourself, not getting too comfortable, and having the educational curve always in front of you.
So when it comes to, I know you mentioned, I think was it 60? You were in charge of 60 people in previous role, and obviously probably quite a few people in this role. What's your approach to like that leadership and team management style? Like how do you tackle that? If you had to do some courses and things to kind of educate or retrain yourself, obviously sidestepping from the 60 into the digital space.
Yeah.
How's that sort of
Yeah,
occurred for you?
yeah, horses for courses. However, my underlined approach of a hands-on leader will never change. I hate that entrepreneurial style. Not that I say it's not correct. It's definitely not for me. Is sitting in the boardroom making executive decisions just by having these fucking fancy slides in front of your
Mm,
projector. Data is important, but that's not the heartbeat, because what the clients are saying, and you got to hear it from the horse's mouth, because the data on the spreadsheet could be all a smokescreen. Someone could have
mm,
manipulated things the way they
yeah.
wanted to be presented and at the same time, for me, seeing is believing at the same time. So in terms of management style, yes, hands on, but I am a firm yet a fair manager. I mean, yes, I'm very pally and jokes and drinking and all of that every time we meet and we do our conferences. But here at Cyprus, or whether the days in the restaurant, I'll never sugarcoat anything. And that's a learning I've had since the days of me being with Gordon Ramsay. So he'll tell you
Yeah.
the way it is. He's never going to sugarcoat it. And actually, it's so true. The bosses we've always hated were actually the ones who gave you the maximum vision and progression in order to understand how things work. I
Mm,
understand you can't be an asshole and a dick to your staff, of course, but if you're never hitting the nail on the head as to what needs to be improved through a very clear, concise instruction, job chat, performance reporting, then you're doomed for failure. So I keep that where when I hire people, for me, what's more important is attitude and the hunger to learn new things. If you're new to the industry, you know, before you demand something from the country, you give something to the country.
yeah.
That kind of thing. So people have got targets. I've got targets, and yes, a lot of them would say that Steve is a straight shooter. But if he's promised us something, whether even if it was a verbal promise, I can
He
promise
will
that
deliver
I'll
on it.
fucking deliver if they've actually given what they have. In fact, I sometimes over deliver to them because I see
Yeah.
how hard they worked, how creative they were. And at the same time, when I'm setting targets to people, whether it was restaurants, i.e., a waiter not looking after a section of 8 tables, but doing 14 tables, that means my judgment to measure that waiter would drop a little bit because I can't expect perfect service because it's just too much for one
Yeah.
waiter. Similarly, for people joining in sales or outreach or order processing, you got to be very savvy in order to understand how things should work person to person, presumably if you've done the hiring correctly, how the market's developing, and just give realistic targets. But because I'm a firm believer, if you don't set stupid targets, yet you're fairly aggressive, when people see it as a motivating challenge, they'll end up over delivering, which is
Yeah.
exactly what you want. But if you come in right at the end, at the beginning, sorry, saying, there you go, mate, 150% increase, are like, fuck's sake, that's
It almost becomes like a demotivating factor as opposed to a motivating one.
correct. Correct. And then also, I'm a firm believer of giving people responsibility. So promoting people from within. Again, from my restaurant days, we hardly hired anyone from the outside. It was always about, okay, who's your next leader? And with me here, when I was putting the team together, which is now a team of 17. Um, it was okay, who's going to be looking after all the account managers, who's going to be the
Yeah.
sales lead, who's going to be looking after order processing. So every time I saw talent, it didn't matter what age, what nationality, I don't give a fuck who you are or what you've done in the past. Show me what you're doing right now and you'll get the job.
I guess it's kind of a bit like the compound effect, right? So I know like we only ever aim to, be a few percent better each month of what we're doing. And then, over time that compounds.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, if you're only setting a target, oh, you need to have a 10% increase or 5% increase this month, that is still a five. If they do that consistently every single month, that's like a 60% increase on the year.
I know, Carl. I mean, people forget some very basic life learnings. Rome wasn't built
Yeah.
in one day.
No.
People see that through the TikTok culture. Oh, that person made 500 million in whatever couple of years. We all know half of that is fucking shite because that's most of it is fake.
20 years of grafting
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 years of virality.
correct. So
Yeah.
people don't want to put in the hard work. They just want to be at the top very quickly, which means they get over aggressive with everything they do. And you can't be aggression. No, there's a fine line between being ambitious compared to being reckless. If you're reckless with
Yeah.
your targets, you're going downhill very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So then how within your setup right now, how good are you at handling conflicts and disagreements? Because I imagine you probably have that almost
Right.
weekly, daily from below you to above you, etc. How are you handling that and within your team? Just how do you do it?
Yeah, I probably do that, and I put it all under the bracket of relationship management. So, conflict being handled internally is what I call my internal clients, and clients
Yeah.
being clients if they've got a beef with, I don't know, the brand or whatever. So, for me, it's a challenge. Uh, I do play a lot of peacemaker, but I
Yeah.
always take care A of the facts, but also whatever benefits the business the most. And the benefit of the business always lies if the client's happy. So even if I have to slap down myself saying, you know what, actually, you were right, mate. I shouldn't have come up with that. So it's literally active talking, active listening, sorry,
Mm.
making sure that you got time to understand and see both parties. And then I marry the data, facts, and my own instinct in order to come up with the right decision. And 9 out of 10 times, I'm generally correct. My team says, like, fuck's sake, how the fuck did you figure that out? Because we weren't even thinking. And sometimes I have visions of this conflict might happen 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. I'll give you a very funny example yesterday, and it's not really a conflict, but it falls under the relationship management category. So, as a lot of people know, I'm on my way out of White Press and I'm joining Jamie, heading the growth there for our affiliate marketing platform. And we were trying to do some business with WordPress. And here I sat in WordPress's conference room with Jamie here, Tom, my boss there. And my first sentence sitting there was, I feel like an SEO hooker here because I am speaking for my current boss and my future boss. And I was, swapping between one sentence to another and saying, Jamie, on behalf of WordPress, thank you for being here. Tom, on behalf of Endorsely, and I said what I had to say, but it's, I think it's still entertaining because if you are really good at conflict, that adds another feather to your cap that you're really good at
Mm.
problem solving. And I think
Yeah.
people who are amazing at problem solving skills would always be amazing and fascinating leaders because they predict what could go wrong in the future, which means there'll be SOPs and certain standards built in place already to tackle that. And plan A, B, C, D, E would be in place.
Mm. So obviously for people who are wanting to get into or become better SEOs or link sellers, essentially, the sales guys, what would you say, what qualities would you say are essential, and like what advice would you say to them to get into the industry?
Yeah. SEO sales and link sales is one of the most unforgiving industries I've encountered, where you got to create the need, educate the client, and then keep them happy for a period of time for them to a start spending if they don't have the budget, or if they have the budget, to stand out. It only comes through if you're hungry, you're passionate. But I think the biggest uh, difference maker for me is when I'm hiring people, I look at their past sales experience in particular. If they've come up with glowing numbers on their CVs selling a product everyone knows, I was like, mate, fucking doesn't matter to me. An Apple laptop sales guy, I did 10 million in last year. Mate, seriously? Why do you need to say?
People are coming in just saying, "Give me a laptop." I know that's all I do when I go into Apple. I want to be in and out. I know what I'm buying. I don't need, just give us a place to
There
swipe.
you go. So I always look for these hidden gems who've done who have been trying to sell shitty products, and they've been fairly good with numbers. My last job between restaurants and white press was selling one of the shittiest wines ever made on planet Earth, and we were selling a bottle for 0.80 euro cents, and my targets were to sell 35 truckloads of them in one financial year. And one truckload takes 32,000 bottles.
Right.
And
Wow.
I smashed that in July. And I remember with my feet up, my boss walking in and saying, well, you don't have to work. I said, you saw my numbers. What the fuck? What else do you want me to do? But I found a way in order to convince people and literally turn water into wine because it was as shit. I mean, water tasted better than wine. I'll be very honest. But you got to find those people because they do exist. Um, so I would say do something, whether it's digital marketing, mate, or links or whatever. Do something which not only you're just passionate and hungry for, but you also understand something which makes you tick. The love for the game. We hear
Right.
this a lot when people in professional sports. The reason Roger Federer picked up the racket or Wayne Rooney started kicking a ball is because of the love for the game. If you're only there to make money, then probably try and do something else.
That'll not
Yeah,
last.
maybe, I don't
Yeah.
know, get on OnlyFans or something. But if you've got the love and the passion and it really gets your creative juices flowing, then do that. And, pair it with all the other things I said during the podcast. And I think money would follow.
No, that's really good. Really good advice, to be fair. So we're going to take a little bit of a sidestep, and I'm going to chat to you a little bit about, because obviously I know Stephen, the business guy and the sales guy, but what about Stephen, the at-home guy with kids, etc., family life? How are you balancing doing all of this at the same time as obviously having a pretty successful family life?
Balancing, I'm shit at it. My my wife is like,
Developing it, Stephen,
yeah,
developing
yeah. I,
it.
I should be positive. I'm, positive phraseology and words. I'm a sales guy. It's work in progress. It's my learning curve.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time, but I chose this profession because this is what I thought I was good at. But if I'm not putting the hours I'm putting in, then I'd rather do something else, to be honest.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I do manage my wife because she knows the amount of work I was putting in restaurants, 80 hours a week, practically no weekends. And I tell her, darling, at least I'm home on Saturdays and Sundays.
That's
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
I could be on my laptop for 4 hours, but at least I'm there rather than coming back at 3 in the morning. It's still
And I guess the other argument is you're also contactable most of the time, probably.
correct.
Whereas in a restaurant, I would imagine you probably weren't very contactable.
Exactly. You can't carry your, I mean, you can carry your mobiles, but, while managing a million
Yeah.
screw ups on every table and expectations, you can't be on your mobile phone. So, in a lot of ways, I
Yeah.
sometimes remind her, but I wish I could do that. And I want to get to that stage where, again, people like yourselves, Julie, Jason Hennessy's, the Matt Singers, where you've been serial entrepreneurs, made your millions and billions, where you could take a back seat and then just have a visionary contribution or view of your business and just be happy. And I wish time was on my side, Carl. You know it. I'll be turning 49, 22nd of September in 10 days. So, of course, I've lost a major chunk of my professional career when I moved from the UK to Poland, practically doing fuck all, trying to either watch Chelsea play over the weekend or trying to teach English. So, of course, my career went downhill. Hence, that fire which burns is because I'm also trying to catch up for lost time. Because all my mates back
Yeah.
in the UK are all, general managers of massive hotels, drawing, £200,000 annual salary, huge bonuses, yada yada. So, in terms of professional success, I'm still catching up, unfortunately. Not that I'm.
However, sometimes you have to take two steps back to take a step forward, right?
I agree. I agree. And for me, it's a blessing in disguise that I moved
Mm.
to Poland and I had this opportunity to try some of the things which I've never done, transferable skills from the restaurant industry to do certain things. And whether it's a good or a bad experience, it always teaches you a lesson. Um, yeah. So I hope in the next 5 years, once I'm fully satisfied and the fire begins to die down a little bit, I can then commit a bit more. Maybe,
Do you think it will? Do you think I'm not too sure?
yeah, I think me and my jokes and banter and going to conferences would probably always be there. I think I'll probably go dancing into my grave for sure. But
Or it'll be the liver that gives out, one of the two.
but definitely, this I enjoy what I do. Um, but wish I had a bit more time. But we were actually discussing with Kate the other day that, what, maybe in 5 years' time we could actually move to Thailand, just like every SEO lives there.
Yeah.
Quality of life based on the earnings we all have is just you can live like a king. So,
Yeah. It definitely was. I know that's been happening over the last 10, 15 years, if not longer now. Everyone's been in Thailand. Some of my best friends who were Newcastle based, they all made a move. I, unfortunately, because of Charlotte, won't be making that move. To be fair, I actually would miss the UK as well. I'm a UK friend, so I, I quite enjoy going, once, twice a year, and that is how long we tend to go. Go for a month, and then that's it. So I've probably got only a couple more questions for you, really, Steve, because we've kind of in your answers, you've answered what the next question would be sometimes. So, have you got any specific habits or routines that you kind of do throughout your day? It could be a morning routine or like a lunchtime routine, just to kind of keep you productive, keep you focused. Like, what do you do?
yeah, quite basic, simple things that everything which needs to be done the next day, I do my to-do list 10 minutes before I actually leave work. Uh, and I see that that makes me really productive. So it could be as simple as make sure to send your holiday request. No matter what that
Yeah.
is, I pencil it, literally not pencil. I use the app and all of that. So I've become a little bit tech savvy now rather than just pen and paper. So I do that a lot. It keeps me on track because I realized, here we go. That's it.
What do you mean tech savvy? There's nothing wrong with pencil and paper.
um, and then because of that, because while I'm finishing and going through that list of tasks to do, because I'm so ingrained in it, few other things, strategies, ideas, something bubbling on the back burner subconsciously. There are more ideas which come in. So I do definitely
Mm.
this. Um, Within the first year and a half in Ypress, I used to have like a morning briefing, just like in restaurants, at 9, quarter past 9, just for 15, 20 minutes. Uh, Tell them, basically repeat some of the things you've done. If any new changes which could happen, congratulate the people who might have performed really well the previous evening.
Yeah.
And once then the market kind of kickstarts on its own, reduce that down to once a week. I try and go to the gym in order to get the negative energy out of my system, which is fucking 30 seconds away. I'm guilty of that as well, so I need to catch up on that. And then all of my remote workers, I make sure that quite often during a week, I'm jumping on a call with them rather than just sending text
Mm.
messages. It's important for them to see their leader, that he or she is engaged. And I'm not going to, paint everyone with the same brush, but we know it, mate. Us human beings, if we feel there's lack of control over us, we will find shortcuts. We will find ways of not being productive as well. So it's not that I dial in and say, tell me what you're going to do, report back to me every hour. Not micromanagement, just letting people know that I'm around, as a father figure, as a support figure, but yet making sure people are on their target. So these are kind of couple of things I do a lot. And then the usuals, mate. You crack on, clear your inbox out, prioritize your work depending on the
Yeah.
severity of the email come through, and then let's see where the day takes you.
Almost basically firefight and hope that you get to the to-do list.
Correct, correct, correct.
So that's kind of, yeah, I run a similar strategy. So like there, I've got a to-do list, and then I just like with a pencil, like you're on computers all the time, like pen and pencil next to us. I can just type it, write it down, and I just tick it off as I go. And anything that doesn't get ticked off, that almost moves to me next day. And it's usually dependent on what the next day entails. It might be at the top of that list typically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite. It's similar to what I do, to be fair. Except I've got like a killer morning routine right now. My morning routine's wicked.
Oh, really? Tell me about
Yeah, so I do steam room. So start my day about 5:30. Steam room for 15 minutes, and then I do cold plunge for 5 minutes, and then 30 minutes cardio. And then on that cardio sort of trip, I'm kind of organizing what I'm going to be doing in like me day to come, check my list type thing. And then that's pretty much it. Get the dog out and then kind of start my day, have a black coffee and then start. And that is my day in a nutshell. Well, then it just
yeah,
progresses
yeah,
until later on.
yeah. That's the prep. Wait till you have kids. Everything's gonna
That's what everyone
Oh,
says.
mate, my day starts now. The school year started again here in Poland, so my day starts at 5:30, where
Yeah,
my missus won't get out of the bed because she screams for them.
yeah.
Where's my coffee? So I got to fucking make the coffee, get the kids out of bed, make them brekkie, and then she comes out, and then we got 20 minutes to make sure everyone's ready, all bags are packed and all of that, all kind of repacked because we try and get them packed up the previous evening, and then just make sure beat the traffic so you're at school on time. And then I kind of take a deeper breath. I go to my local cafe here, the one you probably saw when you were visiting the offices in the same area we are. I have my little croissant and my coffee there to clear my head up, take a deep breath.
Was that the coffee place over the way? Yeah,
Correct, correct.
yeah. It did very nice coffee.
Yeah, so I sit there for about half an hour.
The coffee I make for myself is nowhere near that standard. It's typically just black coffee. It goes down. That's
Does
all.
the job, mate. Does the job, yeah.
Yeah, it does the job exactly. Well, Steve, it's been great chatting to you, mate. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, really active on LinkedIn, but I was always guilty not being too active on Twitter or X, but I've just started doing that. So
Yeah.
drop me a message on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. If there are enough common connections there, I'll happily accept your request. If you
That tends to be what I do as well. I make sure who knows him,
correct, correct.
like just in case, because there's so many like inbox requests from people I just don't even know.
Yeah, yeah. So and that's the best way. And then if we get along really well, then I'll send him a WhatsApp, which is what I try to do. Get ready for lots of voice notes because I don't like typing.
I don't think Stephen knows how to type. That's the
Probably,
thing.
yeah.
Like,
Never went to school.
but no, that's excellent, mate. What I'll do is on the bottom of this, I'll also put in your various LinkedIn's and things like that. But great, cheers for coming on, and obviously best of luck in the new pivot that you're going down.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a brand new learning curve for me, but challenge is what makes you, a successful person. It's not about the money and all of that. It's the education. It's the
Yeah.
it's the journey. But many thanks for having me, Carl. I look forward to seeing you in the next crazy conference.
Probably Chiang Mai, maybe. Are you there? Yeah, Chiang
Chiang
Mai.
Mai. I'm sure you got. No, you're not coming to Cyprus because you'll be away. So, shit.
I'm away, unfortunately. If not, it'll be next year now.
Okay. Brilliant. All right, mate.
All right. Take care, Steve.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.